Hey guys, it's Todd from Like Minded Lunatics, and this is Nerd Shit. Well, what is nerd shit exactly? Well, it's probably what it sounds like to you, and this segment we're going to be examining different nerd communities. Now, if you know me and you know the channel, you know that I am a nerd. I'm a comic book nerd, a video game nerd, among other titles you could give me. But we're not going to be talking about all those things in this segment. No, what I want to do here is learn about nerds I know nothing about, on subject matters I don't know enough about. So, if you're willing, I hope today you'll join me for some nerd shit. Alright, so I don't have a fax from Mark or Jim today. I went on my own here. Now, in the first few nerd shit segments, we did some kind of like stretching when we're talking about what a nerd exactly is, right? We talked about karate, capoeira. We also talked about drag queen slang and some other things. But today, what I wanted to get to is like a traditional kind of nerd topic. That's right. So what I want to talk about today is stamp collecting. Yeah, when I grew up, stamps were like a lot more important and a lot more popular than they are today. But they were still considered like nerd community stuff. I would say that in the 21st century, caring about stamps is even more nerdy. So let's deep dive the nerd communities today and check out stamp collecting, okay? Join me here on Nerd Shit for some stamp collecting. And this is from the CBS Sunday Morning some years ago. So credible source. Let's see what we got.
Washington, come ahead on board. Step aboard.
Captain David Robinson not only loves piloting his tour boat down the waterways of Richmond.
And that's how Richmond got its name, named after Richmond, England. This particular one was an original David Robinson find. This one,
I'm not going to say more than just say, when you picture nerd, I mean, is this who we're picturing? Probably. I mean, I look at myself the same way, so no offense, right? Okay.
He also loves all things Virginia, especially his stamps.
I have some stamps here from the Confederacy, and this is the first Confederate stamp.
Confederacy sympathizer.
He first started collecting at the age of 10.
Nerd.
Made you stick with it?
Girls.
Girls?
Because I found that I could make money buying and selling stamps, and the having of money translated into the geeky kid being able to get the girl.
Had money to take her out.
Absolutely.
He's been collecting ever since, and recently made his biggest find ever. But the story really began.
Okay, we're getting a history lesson now.
When the U.S. Postal Service issued a stamp in honor of the Jenny, a World War I era biplane. The stamp was red and blue.
And they printed one with the blue upside down.
One sheet?
One
so
sheet.
I will say, as like a comic book nerd, in terms of like collecting tangible things, we're talking about rarities here, right? That's, for any kind of nerd culture, that's cool. Find a rarity, right?
Those stamps are now worth millions and far out of reach for people like David Robinson. But in 2013, the U.S. Postal Service decided to commemorate its most famous mistake.
PR move. PR move.
A new upside-down Jenny stamp. And then the Postal Service did something really tricky.
They announced they printed 100 with the airplane right side up.
And those, of course, became...
It's like the Postal Service knew to cater to the nerd community, right? They're like, hey, but let's do it backwards.
Upside down.
But not backwards. Let's do it not backwards.
Badly.
If you're going to open them the correct way, which is sort of slowly and savor the experience, you got to get it out of the plastic first.
I don't care what kind of collector you are. Savor the experience is something you can identify with, right?
$1,000 on sheets of Jennies.
Yeah. Not a winner.
No cigar. And you did this
2,900 times.
That's when Robinson finally struck gold, finding a sheet of right-side-up Jennies.
Rad.
And he sold it at
I mean, I don't know nothing about the Jenny invert besides this, but...
Anonymous buyer.
I beat the odds.
Sold the stamps to question mark man.
Stamp collecting. Once upon a time, stamp collectors, known as philatelists, seemed to be everywhere.
In New York and across the nation, first sales of the new 3-cent stamp celebrating the movie's 50th anniversary. And everywhere it's a field day for the stamp collector.
Okay.
The 1963 film Charade even features Cary Grant
Cary Grant.
There was a fortune, right?
and Audrey Hepburn.
Audrey Hepburn. I love that the drama of this movie seems to be about finding a rare stamp.
There are still die-hard collectors and some budding ones.
Right.
But it's clear the hobby has lost a bit of its luster, which seems a shame to this man.
I think American stamps tell the story of the American experience.
Patrick Donahoe is Postmaster General of the United States.
Do you wonder if these days Postmaster General is like a part-time job? Like 20 to 30 hours a week? I just want to look up the, the listing for the job opening because, I don't know, with like UPS and Amazon and everything, this guy can't have all that much to do, can he?
The story of American stamps is on display at the Smithsonian's National Postal Museum in Washington, D.C.
Oh, that looks cool.
So I know there's a very important stamp that you're going to show me in here.
Yes, the #1 seller of all times. And here it is, Elvis Presley.
When it went on sale in 1993,
Yeah, I was 12 years old when this happened. I remember this. I was never a stamp collector, but I remember this being kind of a big deal. Wow, the tattoo is a huge commitment.
where he sits in state was funded by the king of stamp collectors, billionaire Bill Gross.
I bet the Elvis on that arm, due to the wrinkling and aging of skin, probably looks older than Elvis ever actually looked. You know? That's like better than CGI. The real wrinkles on that human's arm? Never mind. Is that insensitive?
Programs, and so
If it is insensitive, who's it insensitive toward? The person with the tattoo or Elvis himself? Maybe both.
and rip up one of the stamps.
He sold many of his stamps and given the money to charity, but acknowledges spending more than $100 million on his hobby over the years.
Your aim was seriously to collect a copy of every single
$100 million.
that the U.S. put out in the 19th century, every single one.
Yes.
And how many were there?
Well, there's probably 350 to 400 in total.
That includes this one, issued in 1868.
Doesn't look that interesting, does
Is that
it?
Franklin?
But only 2 exist in the whole world. And he also got his hands on a more recent rarity that might look familiar. Remember that anonymous buyer of David Robinson's big find?
This one, that, as you can tell, is right side up. And so I call it the inverted.
That's right. Bill Gross was the winning bidder.
Did I know what it was?
Like, what kind of ADHD do we have to not have remembered? Question mark man from 4 minutes ago. Okay. The big reveal
Thanks for letting me show off.
last week on stamp collecting.
Thanks for coming out.
We didn't know who purchased the thing. Okay.
Captaining his boat doesn't care if Gross makes a profit off the deal. For him and his wife, it's not really about the money.
We're famous. Gail and I are written into philately.
Wait, she just made a point there to go, for him and his wife, and we haven't met his wife yet. But don't you think that part of her story, if you're going to write her story, is like, wait, you found what and sold it for what? Just practically speaking, they could have done a lot with that money, no?
Was on the front page of Lynn's Stamp News.
For someone like you, this is a really big deal.
It's the pinnacle of stamp collecting is to make an original discovery like this, and basically every stamp collector in the world for a few weeks. I want to be him.
So celebrity Celebrity stamp collector David Robinson. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give him a round of applause. Very exciting. All right, listen, stamp collecting doesn't do it for me, but as I said before, I do like collecting tangible things. I got some old basketball cards and some comic books, and so I get it, the excitement of opening the thing and seeing what you got. So cool. Right on, stamp collectors, do your thing. Let's get out of here. Thanks for joining us here at Nerd Shit, and in between now and the next time I talk to you, I'm Todd and everything. Remind me to tell you the time I went to a flea market and there was this almost rabid stamp collector. I don't have time to get into it today, but it's definitely one you're gonna have to remind me about later. All right?